Now it's clear to me. I completely understand why Target kept getting hit during the mini civil unrest. It was a head scratcher. I was like, why every time I look around, Targets are getting hit? I get it. How many of you guys know why, other than myself, Target stores kept getting messed up during the George Floyd civil unrest? If you don't know, I'm going to tell you when I come back. Hello, everyone. Thank you for returning. Thank you to new listeners. Hey, why don't you guys check out the entire video? Okay, I don't even recall hearing about this. I don't recall hearing about Target doing this. If I did, I guess there's so many things that happened against the Black community that it just got drowned. But the way I feel now, I feel like destroying my Target credit card, for real. Like, who came up with only boycotting Target for 40 days? Why 40 days? What, you kind of like equating that to the Bible or something? Why not longer? You know how much money these corporations make off of us? And I'm not even talking about races, people in general. And then now I'm going to talk specifically to Black people. You know how much money Target makes off of you? And do you know how cruel and unjust Target was towards you and still is? You see how quick they dismantled their DEI program? That's because they didn't want to do it anyway. It's, at the end of the day, it's about your dollar. That's it. They have mastered the game of hating you, having no respect for you, but knowing how to pander to you so they can take your money. That's all it's about. So when you gonna stop making these people rich? How about stop shopping at Target, period? And I know that Target is not the only corporation that has a disdain and complete disrespect for Black Americans, or those called Black Americans. See, they set it up in this country where the manufacturing, they own the manufacturing companies, they own the production companies, they own the corporations, they own the retail stores. They set it up where if we want anything, we're going to have to shop at their stores. So that has to change. Okay, the reason why Target was targeted is because, do you guys remember when Target worked directly with the police and sheriff to ban undesirables from downtown Minneapolis, namely the Black youth and Black adults? Yeah, that's what they did. How Target and the city of Minneapolis and Hennepin County created a domestic spy program that rolled back civil rights on its Black population. Brutal policing, a corporate surveillance state, Jim Crow-like segregation, public-private corruption at the highest levels, none of which would be achieved without massive cooperation to systematically deny the voices of Black youths and adults in downtown Minneapolis. Yeah, Target did this. That's why Target is and was hated so much. Yeah, Target. They should make you go bankrupt. Check this out. This is an excerpt I took from in the middle of the article, one of the articles that I found. Every week, a dozen or so Minneapolis police, prosecutors, parole officers, social workers, drug counselors, and shelter administrators met to discuss the DT 100 listees. Once a month, the group held what it called a court watch meeting with business representatives, private security executives, and neighborhood watch activists. In a conference room in the downtown Central Library, the group will watch as a moderator flick through mug shots projected on the screen, taking several minutes to talk about each individual. This person is about to be released from jail, so be on the lookout. This person is seeking chemical dependency treatment. This one is about to be sentenced by a judge. The latter circumstance gave the group its name and one of its central functions. In some instances, when someone on the DT 100 was up for sentencing, members would assemble community impact statements from businesses and residents to be sent to the judge requesting a stiff jail sentence. Sometimes the court watch group would request a geographic restriction. Many of the city's social service providers and unskilled jobs were in the area in which DT 100 people were barred. Don't that sound like a Klan meeting? The list was shared widely in the community. Anyone on it would be tracked. If a person subject to a geographic restriction was spotted, the police would swoop in and the person could be charged with a new misdemeanor offense of violating a court order. Now you tell me that ain't painting out systemic racism. These people sentenced these people even after they served their time for whatever crime they was charged with. They was not going to give them a break. It was like electronic lynching. And my, it was mainly done to black folks. But there's no racism, and there's no such thing as systemic racism. And what is that program? Everybody blew their lid. What, the critical race theory? Oh my God, you guys are just woke. Okay, here we go. These reports reveal that the city of Minneapolis, Hennepin County, and multinational retail giant Target Corporation have engaged in a decades-long sweeping surveillance operation. This public-private partnership effectively hides the true nature of the downtown business community's profit-driven agenda, which is to weaponize police and surveillance technologies to get rid of undesirable populations, especially black youths. Target, who could have single-handedly reduced the local black unemployment rate in Minneapolis and consequently shrank racial disparities and homelessness, instead engaged in systematic racial discrimination in hiring, funded draconian policing and prosecution, and profited from massive surveillance and big data, consequently rolling back civil rights on the city's black population. Now, just hearing those few minutes of what Target did, black folks, you should never ever give Target a dime of your money again. And come up, you guys have brilliant minds. God bless you with phenomenal creativity. Build your own corporations. And if they come in the background and try to stop you, you yell it from the rooftops. Because I'm tired of giving my money to these people that treat us like we're nothing but pander us and beg for our dollars to live a rich life and take care of their families. And then me in the background, they're saying, screw you. Let's go on. Hennepin County District Attorney Mike Freeman, a Target Corporation collaborator, refused to prosecute Chauvin and other officers involved in Floyd's murder even after video evidence of the gruesome act went viral. Protesters who were already past their breaking point due to the ongoing police killings in Minneapolis and a lack of accountability from corporate-backed politicians responded to Freeman's actions by causing several nights of unrest, which led to the burning of the 3rd Precinct Police Station and looting of several businesses, including the Super Target across the street. It was the response from the protesters that caused Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison to take the case and hold the cops accountable. See, they got hit in their pockets and they was like, oh, hell no. Nope, we got to do something about this. See, that's how you get their attention, messing up their pockets. That's the only thing they understand is money. You could come in all day and show them, hey, this is unfair. Oh, well, what about this? What are they like? Oh, okay, yeah, whatever. But as soon as you hit that money, oh, they start singing a whole different song. Okay. Yeah, that's why they kept looting Targets, because they was holding them accountable. For years, America's most upbeat retailer funded surveillance to make inner cities safe for some. Now it's trying to convince people of color it changed. The 127,000 square foot store in East Lake Street sits about 2 miles from the corner where Floyd was killed, and was among the first buildings ransacked after the murder sparked an uprising across Minneapolis. The scene that night is etched in the minds of Target executives, people shoving aside red shopping carts and running out with armfuls of merchandise as sirens blared and police fired tear gas into the air. Hours later, across the street, protesters firebombed the 3rd precinct building of the Minneapolis Police Department. 4 days after Floyd's death, as the East Lake Street store lay in ruins and the damage at 9 other Targets in the Twin Cities area was still being accessed, Brian Cornell, Target's chairman and chief executive officer, issued a statement saying his team had wept that not enough was changing in the face of Floyd's murder and other recent killings of Black Americans. As a team, we vow to face pain with purpose, wrote Cornell, who's led Target since 2014. So would he have cried if that didn't happen? Or was he crying about all the money that he knew they lost? Target acted decisively. It rescued a job training nonprofit in a poor Black neighborhood from collapse. It pledged to spend $2 billion by 2025 to help Black-owned businesses nationally. $2 billion is not too much. It announced $10 million in donations to Black civil rights groups and recovery efforts around the country. It funded a $700,000 awards program administered by the U.S. Conference of Mayors for cities undertaking initiatives related to racial justice and police reform. Where is all this money? Who can account for this money that these retailers and corporations donate? The East Lake store has been rebuilt. It was designed in consultation with local residents to create environments where Black guests feel overtly welcome. In the words of Target's newly impaneled Racial Equity Action and Change Committee, new windows, outdoor lighting, and shrubs give the store a suburban feel. What's less suburban is a large piece of artwork in the store's exterior depicting masked protesters exulting with raised arms in front of a flame-engulfed building that resembles the 3rd precinct station. Why would you put that in there? Jesus. Beneath the gleam and paint, tensions linger. A lot of U.S. companies are evaluating their relationships with the Black community, but Target is grappling with a particularly raw set of challenges, especially in its hometown of Minneapolis. Target was erected in Minneapolis. I understand now. In a city with a legacy in racial segregation and police brutality, a yawning income gap between white and Black residents, and disproportionately high rates of arrest and incarceration of Black men, the unrest was in part born of a deeper pain that began well before a police officer took Floyd's life, and that pain bears Target's label as well, say community activists, academics, and even some former law enforcement and city officials. See, I've heard about Minneapolis from Black folks that live there, and they ain't no joke. So for Target to be come from that town or that state, I understand where all the racism and discrimination came from. It's a fact. For decades, Target fostered partnerships with law enforcement, unlike those of any other U.S. corporation. It became one of the most influential corporate donors to law enforcement agencies and police foundations, supplying money for cutting-edge technology and equipment. When it developed a network of forensic labs, it made them available to police across the U.S., starting in the early 2000s. Target developed a program called Safe City that poured money into police and sheriff's departments to install neighborhood surveillance systems and fund equipment. In Minneapolis, Target worked with the city attorney's office to have petty criminals banished from the downtown business district through what are called geographic restriction orders. 8 out of 10 people expelled were Black or American Indian, according to an analyst of city data. In an article last summer, Erin Azura, a professor who teaches courses on race and gender at the University of Minnesota, wrote that Target's deep ties to the police made the company an appropriate outlet for rage. Target's law enforcement partnerships were once a matter of singular pride for the company. It rode a wave of glowing publicity in the early to mid-2000s as it sold mayors and police chiefs on its public-private efforts designed to control urban centers and create safer communities. But as cities began confronting glaring racial disparities in policing practices, and amid the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, the company began quietly backing away from its public safety programs. It stopped funding Safe City in 2015, and last year, so I guess this, I think the article was written in 2021. 5 days after Floyd's death, scrubbed its community of store safety webpage of any mention of the trademark name it had used to promote its law enforcement initiatives for the past 25 years, Target and Blue. Ain't that some shit? You took black folks' money and policed them and banned them at the same damn time. Tony Heredia, Target's vice president for compliance, ethics, and corporate security, says that ending Safe City funding had nothing to do with race, but was prompted by internal assessments that showed the program wasn't meeting Target's goal as well as other considerations. Deny. That's what they do. They wasn't going to come on and admit that they was wrong and violated a whole litany of civil rights and was racist as hell, prejudice, bias, and all that. The company never intended to be the perpetual funder of Safe City programs across the U.S., he says. Of course he's going to say that. And wanted to focus on philanthropic efforts and other public-private partnerships and community engagement initiatives. A spokeswoman says nobody at the company recalls Target's involvement with the city attorney's office on geographic restrictions, but nonetheless, the company doesn't support their use. She says Target received questions about its Target and Blue program after Floyd's death and removed the trademark from its website because it was inaccurate and out of date. You see how much these mofos lie? You're about to get me to start cussing. I was about to slip and say, instead of saying mofo. Our goal is to create safe environments for all. Damn, they know how to clean stuff up, don't they? And to do this, we invest in a variety of tools, technology, programs, and partnerships, the spokeswoman said in a written statement. We understand the concerns that have been raised about law enforcement and support the cause for holistic change in policing and policing. Former Minneapolis Mayor R.T. Ryback, who oversaw the introduction of the Safe City program in the city, says Target always had a holistic way of looking at public safety. Ryback is now president and CEO of the Minneapolis Foundation, which was which has received project funding from Target. The biggest difference between then and now, he says, is that so many of us have come to a recognition that what we thought was helping had a dramatic negative impact on people of color. Alicia Smith, executive director of the Cochran Neighborhood Organization in South Minneapolis, has advised Target since last summer on community relations. She says Target shouldn't use off-duty cops to prevent shoplifting and other crimes at the East Lake Street store. Instead, should bring in community groups to address people's needs without criminalizing them. But she says the company is moving in the right direction. Target is reevaluating and doing some deep thinking and recognizing they certainly have contributed a lot of harm, she says. You can't undo the harm, but you can stop perpetuating it. And every single person that was targeted should have a class action lawsuit against Target. In Minneapolis, Target is ubiquitous and powerful presence. I'm sure they are. It's one of the largest employers in the city, and its name and bullseye logo are attached to sports stadiums, cultural institution, and a wide range of public events. The company's history dates to 1902, when a banker named George Draper Dayton bought a dry goods store in the city and built a chain of upscale department stores. From 2011 to 2019, Jim Roeder, a longtime Target executive, is now the Minneapolis city attorney. Wow, see how that worked together? You see how these corporations work so well with politicians? The Daytons opened Target in 1962 as a suburban discount complement to its urban showpieces. Target gradually became the largest part of the organization, and the Dayton's family philanthropy was channeled through the Target Foundation. By the turn of the millennium, as Minneapolis fought stubborn inner city crime, the foundation adopted a new beneficiary, the police. Target has one of the most sophisticated security departments among retailers anywhere. By the 90s, it had become an early adopter of surveillance cameras in its stores to combat organized retail theft, in part because of the forward thinking of a security executive named King Rogers. He learned that in places with other crime problems to worry about, it wasn't easy to persuade cops to care about shoplifters. So Roger built cases internally to make it simple for cops and prosecutors to pursue defendants. Target collected video evidence of shoplifters in the act, interviewed them on tape, and delivered the evidence to law enforcement. What they were doing was essentially the police work that the police didn't have the time or initiative or incentive to do, says Richard Holliger, an expert in retail crime and professor emeritus at the Department of Sociology and Criminology and Law at the University of Florida. At home, Target wooed cops in the winter with food and drinks and warming huts in its parking lots. For several years, the company funded a Hennepin county prosecutor to pursue repeat property crime offenders nationally and introduced Target in Blue, which provided police with grants to buy cameras and other equipment. It sponsored national night out parties to bring cops and communities together, and the Shop with a Cop program for police officers to take underprivileged kids holiday shopping at Target stores. I mean, it could have been a good program if they just wasn't, you can't make it seem like the only people that was stealing were blacks. And then instead of, making them criminals, address the issue, poverty. Like I said, poverty breeds crime. It goes hand in hand. In 2001, after Rogers retired, Target hired a former FBI agent named Brad Brake to lead its success protection efforts. Brake oversaw the construction of a network of forensic labs that could enhance video evidence, repair damaged audio recordings, and process fingerprints. Police departments sometimes use them to help investigate violent felonies. Assistance Target provides pro bono. The company's methods and technologies were featured in an interactive exhibit called Target Take the Case at the National Law Enforcement Museum in Washington. I understand when you want to protect your merchandise. I get that. I really do. But it's a difference between protecting and criminalizing. Because some of you guys assumed that just because a person was looking a certain way, they were trying to steal. And some of you guys got it wrong. And you got it wrong because you was criminalizing people because of how they looked. Target began expanding into inner cities in the 1990s. When it arrived in downtown Minneapolis in 2001, a renaissance was already underway. The police department has successfully reduced violent crime by using the then popular broken windows criminology theory, which advocated cracking down on petty offenses as a means of preventing more serious crimes. Despite the thriving economy, Minneapolis remained one of America's most racially segregated cities, the result of redlining and racial covenants that helped prevent black families from acquiring wealth and kept them out of desirable neighborhoods. Black residents faced an outsized chance of arrest and incarceration. This April, the U.S. Department of Justice announced an investigation into Minneapolis Police Department for potential patterns of racial discrimination and excessive use of force. Downtown, two worlds collided. The largely white middle-class Minneapolis who lived in newly built apartments in the area commuted to work there and flooded the neighborhood's bars on weekends, chaffed at the poor and mostly black and American Indian people on the streets. Homeless and unemployed youth hung out on corners, dodged truancy officers, and packed downtown shelters at night. Surveys in the early 2000s found many Twin Cities residents felt uncomfortable working and shopping in their midst. It was less about actual safety. Violent crimes was down than what Target executives called safeness. Jim Bender, a former Minneapolis cop who worked under Breck at Target, found an idea for turning around the downtown business district at a police conference in England in 2001. The town of Northampton, northwest of London, claimed it had achieved great success reducing what it called antisocial behavior by installing surveillance cameras, sharing intelligence among businesses and police, and issuing civil orders to ban miscreants from the downtown center. Nonetheless, he scribbled notes on a cocktail napkin and shared his findings with Target's executive committee upon his return. To his surprise, he found a receptive audience. The company was running short on prime real estate in the suburbs and eyeing expansion into more inner cities. At the time, we were literally asking the question as we expand into higher risk areas, building stores in one of the boroughs of New York instead of a cornfield in Iowa. How do you keep the same shopping experience without spending 5 times as much money on security? The more I read it, the worse it sounds. So you're going to tell me that there's no crime in these predominantly white communities? You's a damn lie. You a damn lie. I know somebody that worked in a affluent white neighborhood. They worked at a business. I'm not going to name the business, but they said they saw white people coming there stealing all day, every day. And ones coming in there with executive suits was stealing. 2004, Target donated $300,000 to the Minneapolis police to install 30 cameras covering dozens of blocks and build a radio system to connect police directly with businesses, private security guards, and social service workers. This local program was later named the Minneapolis Safe Zone Collaborative. Instead, the downtown police precinct in a room called the Fusion Center, the cameras were monitored around the clock. Bender says he and others at Target cooperated with the city attorney's office to develop a version of Northampton's civil orders. This is sick. 2009, the Minneapolis Police Department made nearly 9,000 arrests in the safe zone, a 60% increase since the beginning of the program in 2004. According to the city's arrest data, more than 80% of the arrests were for misdemeanors, and 7 out of 10 offenders were black. Roughly 20% of Minneapolis is black. Between 2009 and 2021, at least 214 people were subject to geographic restriction orders, 74% of them black and 10% American Indian. They were likely more such orders. Some records are missing, including those for orders issued before 2009. Mary Ellen Hinge, Minneapolis Deputy City Attorney in the Criminal Division, says that geographic restrictions have been a useful tool, but that her office has reflected on the racial disparities and is considering using them less. Wow. So you didn't think about it when it was happening? Like, damn, everybody arrested is mainly black people. They always have an afterthought. They always have an afterthought because they just see black folks as criminals. So it wasn't a big deal. Like it was like expected that a lot of black people will be arrested. And then until it gets pointed out, then it's like, oh, we realized that it was great disparities happening. You knew it was. Target expanded its Safe City initiative to more than 25 cities nationwide. After opening a store in West Baltimore in 2008, it gave Baltimore police a Safe City grant of $300,000 for portable command post, enhanced cell phone tracking, and in-cruiser computers. The company donated $200,000 to the Los Angeles Police Foundation to purchase data mining software and services from Plantair Technologies, Inc., a surveillance and intelligence company. Target also became a corporate sponsor of the Los Angeles Police Department. And here's the thing. The way they went so hard to protect their merchandise reminds me of how it reminds me of the patrol. What was they called? What was it called? A slave patrol. To keep black folks in their place and to protect their property, which was slaves and inanimate objects. Okay, let's go on. All right, now listen to what they did to this black guy. Mary Murati, the former chief public defender of Hennepin County, says the surveillance mechanism and the effort of stigmatizing and targeting her clients, many of whom were poor, black, and young, it was a big brother thing. It was a real big brother thing. She says you couldn't be in a downtown business district without being looked at by cops who were using technology. There was a perception that the cops were just sitting there watching tape, looking for what we felt were black clients doing something that they thought was suspicious as an excuse to go search them. The Downtown Improvement District Signature Plan was a program called Downtown 100, or DT 100. The stated goal of DT 100 was to focus special attention on people downtown who had the most contacts with police, steering them away from trouble and toward opportunities for stable housing, counseling service, and treatment for addiction. The DID also funded a dedicated prosecutor and probation officer for downtown defendants. Norman Irvin started hanging out downtown in 2011, just as the DT 100 was revving up. He was 16 and had recently lost his mother. His father died when he was 2. The youngest of 6 kids, he was often on his own. He dropped out of high school and met up with a pack of other homeless kids downtown. They smoked and sold weed and crack and slept wherever they could find warmth. Irving got his first misdemeanor in 2011 for riding a bike on the sidewalk. He got his second for sleeping in a car, his third and fourth for interfering with traffic and jaywalking. His fifth was for possession of drug paraphernalia. His sixth was for trespassing, all in 30 months. Ann Kent, a social worker at the downtown counseling and drop-in center called YouthLink, was attempting to help Irvin find a better path. 2014, she finally had some good news to report to the weekly DT 100 meeting. Irvin had been accepted for subsidized housing. That night, one of the policemen who attended the meeting arrested him for possession or sale of narcotics at a local shelter. Kent was furious. The bus disqualified Irvin for his first chance at stable housing in 3 years. Kent says she confronted the arresting officer. I'm like, why him? The cop said he saw Irvin swallow the evidence. What do you want us to do? Ignore that? Officer asked. Irvin was sentenced to 180 days and county jail and 3 years probation. After being released, he managed to get a dishwashing job downtown, but he had to evade the cops because he had been geo-restricted from the area. One day on his way to work, he was confronted by a pair of transit cops who had been alerted to his presence. As he tells the story, one barked at him, "What the F you doing downtown with your little black ass?" He eventually got dispensation from a judge to travel downtown strictly for work. That sounds like straight slavery. But he went back to what Kent calls crimes for survival in the streets. In 2016, now with 9 misdemeanors and 1 felony on his rap sheet, Irvin was part of a group that robbed a man and his girlfriend at gunpoint outside a Walgreens in northeast Minneapolis. The man fled and Irvin shot him in the arm and leg. Okay, now Irvin, I was rocking with you, dude. The man survived. Irvin pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree aggravated robbery and served 3.5 years in state prison. Now 26, he has a car, works at Chili's, and avoids downtown at all costs. My experience in downtown Minneapolis was a lot of harassment, he says. I got stopped standing at a bus stop, loitering, jaywalking, spitting on the ground. All I can say is I'm doing way better now, never going down there. To many downtown residents, shoppers and office workers, Irvin trajectory validates the aggressive approaches of Safe Zone and the Downtown 100. Ken says it differently. She says the relentless surveillance and police pressure push young people of color, many already suffering from severe childhood trauma, toward a life of crime. Yeah, it caused them to be angry and bitter because they know you just targeting them. It don't cause them to stop. It just causes them to say, F you. You gonna target me? Okay. Well, it's still messed up because if that was, and be real with it, if that was a white little boy, they would have 9 times out of 10 they would have been like, "Look, come here, son. Let me show you a better life. Let me get you involved in this program that could really help you out." Instead, Irvin, he just got kept. He kept getting locked up, and they knew the boy needed some help. Instead of geo restrictions, I would say can Target offer these kids internships? See what I'm saying? All they had to do is take him under their wings. The boy was on his own. He didn't have nobody but street kids. And they ain't gonna teach you to go to school. They trying to survive. Man, this is ridiculous. They don't want to be stealing phones and getting into trouble. They want to be working. William Mende experienced the system from both sides as a homeless teenager, dodging cops for years, and in his early 20s as an outreach worker in Minneapolis social service agencies, an immigrant from Liberia. Via Newark, New Jersey, Mende started his homeless odyssey at 15, joining a crew of 8 other runaways on the downtown streets. Mende eventually enrolled in community college and was hired by YouthLink in a homeless shelter to work with clients in the street. He toured the Downtown Improvement District Fusion Center inside the 1st Precinct Police Station and attended Downtown 100 meetings, watching in silent disbelief as mug shots of people he knew were projected on the wall. I felt like an invisible man entering a KKK meeting, says Mende, now 29. Suddenly it all made sense to him. Why in certain places, such as in front of the Target on Nicollet, mall cops would always show up to hassle them. Why some people were literally barred from downtown, why the social service agencies seem to be working so closely with the police. I realized, Mende said, they were systematically watching us downtown on the cameras as they could put charges on us and move us out of the way. In recent years, he's learned about Target's seminal role. Always thought there was an aura of prejudice around that Target store, says Mende, who lives with his wife and 2 baby daughters and works in a hospital IT department. Now I know why. But they want to keep denying that there's systemic racism. And I know I'm kind of not, I wouldn't say I'm in the middle. I'm more so like maybe 80%. 20% understand, 80% like you just prejudiced. That's just it. Because like I said, when you have a business, you don't want your merchandise ripped off. I get that part. You losing money. Everybody losing money. But there are other ways. I can't remember where I read this comment. This is some time ago. This wasn't a comment on any of my videos. It was a comment on some social media post I was reading. It was about a video or something about a black young man who kept getting arrested for doing crimes and, just doing what you do when you're poor and don't have, or you don't look for other alternatives. And then there was this white guy came in talking about him and this black guy went through the same thing. But the difference is the white guy was offering mentors and, internships and all kind of things where the black guy wasn't. And he kept trying to justify, like basically saying there was no difference, that you just have to be motivated. You just have to work hard and want to do better. And people kept pointing out to him, dude, no, it's not always that. Some people are offered things that others aren't. You were offered a chance. They wanted you to succeed while this black guy wasn't offered that. But he didn't want to believe it. And I saw another video where a young girl, a young white lady, young girl, she wasn't a young girl, she was a woman. She had got arrested for the same crimes that a black woman got arrested for. Her crime, she basically got a slap on the wrist, the white girl. She was trans, she had dope on her, all that. And the judge slapped her with a small little don't do it again type thing. And I think she ended up giving probation while the black girl, the black woman, was sentenced. And she said I'm stressed and we were busted for the same exact thing. She said I got a slap on the wrist, and the same judge gave her the black woman a harsher sentence. They could have been like in their 20s. And I think that was the first offense the black woman had committed. The young black woman committed, and that was the first offense for the young white woman. So I don't understand how people keep acting like there's not a disparities. Okay, folks, I'm kind of tired of time. I'm kind of tired of talking. I want to rest my voice. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next video.